Welcome, everybody, to Boston 9/11 Truth. Today is August 14th, and today we have our guest is Bob Runyon, who has done enormous research on to the airplanes of 9/11. And he is retired. He served in the Navy, and he's a retired field engineer working on restoring batteries. So before we start, I just want to remind everybody you all got the guidelines to be respectful of each other and of our guest. And Bob has said it's okay to have questions in the middle of his presentation. So raise your electronic hand if you have a question. And you'll be called on in order, and you'll be limited to 2 minutes for your question. And remember to be respectful and civil, no shouting, no interrupting, no speaking over one another. Just generally really respectful of everyone on the call, including our guest speaker. So welcome, Bob. Take it away.
Thank you.
Tell us a little more about yourself.
Uh, well, I've sort of been a hobbyist in electronics for a while, as far as being able to uh, build for myself simple things like as much as little projects. There used to be a magazine that was called Popular Electronics many years ago, and I actually built projects that they put there. It was kind of, a cool thing. In fact, recently I acquired a hand-me-down electric piano that the pedals don't work is the reason why it was kind of like here, take this. And the project is make the pedals work. And it's kind of like take hardware apart and fix things. It's kind of, okay. Um, it's that way that I've had a relationship with hardware for a long time. What they say. So there also is, and it's a maybe as to whether or not I am whether or not I am some sort of savant or some such. I have no idea exactly where it falls on what kind of spectrum, but the bottom line is apparently there are things that are obvious to me that a lot of other people go, "Well, that isn't obvious at all. Darn, like and like the situation with the planes being shown when that famous video was shown that shows Flight 175 just melting itself into the side of the South Tower, and like alarms are going off with me, going, planes don't do that, and there's people who will tell me oh no, all you have to do is get the plane going fast enough and it'll go right in. And there's reasons why, and we can go into that in detail, but it's just a difference as to um, am I weird or something with kind of thinking that, oh no, planes don't do that. So it's it's just um, but there's some showing precedent and showing the science behind it. I think I can demonstrate that, yep, planes don't do that. But that's kind of where things are at. So I would like, if I may, to start in to just sort of like express also an itty bitty pet peeve, and this take a very short time to do, is that um, there are around the towers coming down. I think it's pretty much we have universal agreement that the towers came down because of controlled demolition, and seven came down because of controlled demolition. But there is a lot of flack going around on the arguments about it had to have been atomic bombs, or it had to have been some kind of death ray machine that we don't know anything about, or who knows what it is. And I perceive about this a lot of people seem to be very busy trying to sell their books, when in fact that whole effort is creating a noise level in the truth movement that just doesn't need to be there. So that's my particular 2 cents worth on that subject. So anyway, um, with the uh, business of kind of trying to lay a little bit of a foundation here about the physics of the whole operation. And a lot of people just don't give it second thought about what applied physics is really about anyway. But the concept that uh, if you're going to have a, a crash scenario, be it a crash of cars or a crash of an airplane, there has to be what are known as G forces, where the plane or the car, for that matter, uh, you experience, say, it's recorded, in fact, that a 30-mile-an-hour collision with a car can induce 100 G of forces. And that 100 G means that a 20-pound object in the car, whatever that object may be, can exert a ton of force of whatever is in front of it. And that's significant. That's the reason why things break a lot in terms of collisions. The automobile industry has gone through a lot of effort to make crumple zones so that the breakage is organized in such a way as it dissipates energy without killing people in the car. And that's a neat thing to have. Airplanes don't have crumple zones. So with that in mind, we have a the alleged plane zooming along at 500 miles per hour or some outrageous speed because really it's way outside the envelope of what is supposed to be legit flight speeds for that aircraft for that altitude. But if you consider that mass and speed, and there is a finite reservoir of energy available, and that finite reservoir of energy gets diminished every single time there is some event happens that uses up energy, like for that matter, breaking things or bending things or whatever. And in terms of the building, the tower that is be it WTC 1 or 2, either one, the box columns that comprise that wall have mass. And in terms of for Flight 11, in order to make the whole as shown in the famous photographs of uh, the tower wall, in fact, actually, I don't have, do I have that queued up? It's a little bit frustrating here. Um, there we go. That one right there. Uh, let's see here. Uh, right here. Yes. This is a function of having to move a mass to make this make a whole.
We
And for
don't see the
WTC
screen.
one,
Uh,
what's that?
Bob,
Oh,
we don't see the screen. We just see
okay.
your directional.
Something's tweaked here. I don't know what I did wrong, but
We see the
ah,
file, we see the file set, Bob. I don't think you opened up the file.
well, I on my screen I had it opened up. This right here now does
But you
You might
didn't
have two
share that
screens.
particular screen. But
Yeah.
okay. Let me go back and see if I can make this happen here. Share screen. This technical problems here. Come on. This right here. Okay, if we do, let's see, share options. Um, what am I doing wrong? This is not giving me what I want. Here we go. Is that, yeah, that, okay,
Now we
finally.
see it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So given the mass that has to be moved in order to make this whole, for WTC1, the mass would be approximately 4 tons. For WTC2, and there's actually sort of an anomaly here. If you consider a hole big enough to get a 5 meter diameter airliner body through, which this extra wreckage, I don't know what's up with this material over here, but assuming a hole big enough to get a 5 meter diameter airliner body through, this would be 6 tons of mass that has to be shifted. And you then have to consider overcoming the inertia of 6 tons of mass with the idea that this is not going to move immediately. It's going to take 15 or 20 milliseconds to actually get the to get even get movement started. And in that 15 or 20 milliseconds, it will have consumed the first 15 feet of the airliner at the speed that it was allegedly going. So in terms of consuming that mass at the front of the aircraft, uh, that's going to turn into just aircraft wreckage. And without having breached the wall at that point, all of that stuff is going to fall down the side of the building. What we do not see in the pictures of uh, the in the official story here is we do not see the the aircraft wreckage falling down the side of the building. In fact, I've got this queued up right here. In fact, darn it. Okay. Darn, share screen, share screen. Where's my this is one of the things about like not being a qualified operator with this stuff here. Um
Don't stress. It'll take the time it takes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
There
doing
we go.
fine.
Okay, share. There we go. There. This right here. And is this going to show me what I want? That I, I uh hmm. Oh, come on. This does not give me a warm feeling about how my hardware is doing for me. Um, hmm. There we go. That's what I want to see. Okay, so I go to screen. There, that right there. And this has been slowed down to 25% speed here. And what you can see, I already ran it way past where I was supposed to, but the concept with this is that the plane, darn it, the alleged plane here, um, penetrates the wall, and there is no shifting of the attitude of the plane. There is no visible breakage. It's just a matter of and this, like I say, slowed down to 25%, but no stuff falling down the side of the building. And at the point before the wall is actually breached, because indeed it takes time to shift a mass of that sort, uh, the plane would have created tons of airplane wreckage that most certainly would have been obvious falling down the side of the building. So there is one piece of that bit. There is something over here. Now I have another
I
item here.
just had a question. If you can you go back to that? There's another fire about 10 or 15 floors lower that looks like it's already going before that plane hits.
There's a possibility about that. Let me get back. If I can get
Maybe you
back
can
to
get to it later, but just
yeah,
curious.
yeah, to get back to the share screen thing here. Is this going to tell me what I want to know here? There seems to be either a time delay involved or something that doesn't. Oh, yeah, here we go. That's the button you want. Okay, that's right there. So going back before, let's see, get this up here. Yeah, that right there. Okay, let it roll from there. Darn it. No, 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 don't do this to me. Rings. Okay.
What's that fire below on the other side?
Oh, on the other, the fire that's over here is World Trade Center 1 burning because the North Tower had been hit before this hit happened.
It's the same tower. I thought it was just one plane on one tower. Will be frozen.
That's two towers, two different towers.
Oh, it's behind. Thank you, Richard. I see it now. Apologize. Yeah.
It's so white, it's hard to distinguish
Yeah,
one
it's hard to
tower from
determine that,
the
yeah.
other.
Thank you, I apologize.
Yeah.
While he's frozen, if I could share. Oh, well, I don't want to retake the screen. By Licky, who we've been talking to with Richard Rotans. This is his a year and a half later. He gave testimony um, to get how do I say uh, honored for being in 9/11, being there on 9/11. And he says this quote, Rotans and I began to make our way to the FDNY command post in the North Tower. We cautiously and methodically crossed over the damaged glass footbridge, which traversed Vesey Street and connected 7 WTC to the rest of the WTC complex. This is the best part right here. We climbed over numerous dead human bodies and body parts, as well as pieces of aircraft fuselage and fallen building debris, all the while trying to avoid building occupants that were jumping from the engulfed tower. So he's a very reputable guy saying that he saw walking over plane parts on the way into one.
Can you send that to me, Gene?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just found that yesterday.
Yeah.
Bob's gone altogether.
Yeah, he
He's
froze
back.
and then
He's coming back. He has an internet connection problem,
Bummer.
which is unfortunate. He's phoning in from California.
well, he's back on the screen, but he's talking, but we're not hearing him. We're not hearing you, Bob.
We could tell him he's got two different contacts. If he
You're muted, Bob.
There.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm on. Okay. So, yeah.
Hey, Bob, it seems like you have two connections going, so I don't know
Well,
if you.
one of them is actually a cell phone right next to me over here. And what I did was I set this up to show me the visuals of what I'm getting so that I should be able to tell when my screen share is either working or not working. Now, again, just a little bit frustrated with the technological setup here because the completely mad thing that's going on is that this all should work. I haven't had to necessarily present at a Zoom meeting, but I've been on Zoom meetings for any number of times, and it seems everything worked when I was just a participant. Now that I'm like on stage here, the technology's going, we're going to mess with you. So, oops. Um, Sorry about the insanity with this, but let's see. There is another screen share that I can come up with that is this right here. Share that. Now, yeah. This is as per the official story on the subject, this is the attitude of Flight 175 as it contacted the tower wall. And given the fact that there's an offset here, and in fact, this doesn't properly show it, but the angle of the wings was 38 degrees roll on this, which terribly biases the direction that the plane is going, such that the longitudinal axis of the plane is not the true direction of motion. This is important because at such time as you get nose to wall contact, it is not going to follow the longitudinal axis and go straight in. There's a bias that it's going to go off to one side. And that would either cause the nose to wall contact to walk across the face of the building, just destroying the aluminum exterior without doing any penetrating, or just tear up the plane in one form or another. The other factor involved is that given the nose to wall contact and the fact that this would create a shock that would penetrate, that would propagate through the entire plane in 15 milliseconds. The concept is that this shock of causing some mass at the nose of the plane to go from 500 miles per hour to zero in next to nothing, in single digit milliseconds, the thing would create a shock such that the plane, the actual structure of the plane would not survive. And the G forces, this would be something in excess of 200 Gs of the force of nose to wall and then stressing the entire plane. Now, to bring up, let's see, back to my share screen. Here we go. Stop share. Go back to share screen. And there is a short video that I hope I could be successful in actually showing here. This right here. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, this. Oh, darn it.
It's just
I
easier if
did
you
it
share your
again.
main screen and
Yeah,
drag
I
things
know, I'm
to it.
doing it wrong. Ah, this is such,
Bring it up on your computer first and then share screen.
yeah,
Instead of share window, share screen.
yeah, let's see here. Do this, share this. Okay, so in this particular
Got it.
video, now they took an airliner that is a different brand of plane, but it's basically the same function here, an airliner type aircraft that was taken up for a drop test. And this is not a huge drop at this point. Uh, the accelerometers in the plane registered 40 Gs. All right, 40 Gs. And at this point, it ripped the wings off the plane. You can tell this became detached here. Now, the forces subjecting an airframe to 40 Gs and the wings come off like this. So with that then said, the idea that you could then put a plane in the position of having much more than 40 Gs applied, and that the darn it, come on, don't, there we go. I gotta, yeah, kill that. Darn it. There we go. Yeah, okay. So there's that. There's other crash test videos that I have that literally show an airplane landing, as especially hard landing, but there were no serious injuries on board at the time. There was one person got a broken ankle from it because that person was up and around instead of in a seat and seat belted in. But the landing involved the breaking off of the tail, the aircraft at the time that this landing happened. So planes are vulnerable to damage. Planes would be subject. Oh no, 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 no.
What?
Oh, guys. Um,
What happened?
ah, um, let's see here. Okay. Yeah. Where things are at here is I'm stuck with being oh, this okay, just a there we go. So I'm stuck with not having the desktop presentation that I thought I was having because this is just yeah it, wow. Okay, this is it's um there, that's what I want. No, it's not. Yeah, do that. Okay, so anyway, am I being heard here? Heard? Am I
Yes, we hear and see you just fine.
yeah, the bit about attempting to share my desktop and all, apparently I'm having technical difficulty. However, um, there are sufficient videos, and I can go ahead and in a uh, kind of in a memo or something after this whole thing supply the URLs to the crash test videos for airplanes that definitely show things such as, but not limited to, a tail breaking off of an aircraft, wings breaking off, things that show definite vulnerabilities of aircraft at the time, and showing the concept that if a plane were to smash into a wall of a skyscraper, such as the World Trade Center, there would be mass to overcome the inertia thereof, and that mass would take time, and that time delay would then have the plane in a massive G's kind of condition where there would be the stress to the plane. It's bad enough, and you see automotive test crash videos. There's a plethora of these things online, where an SUV is slammed into a wall at 60 miles an hour, and the results look catastrophic at that point. In fact, actually, the concept of smashing two cars together, both cars take damage at the same time, and the concept of crashing an airplane into a wall, even if the wall is breachable, both there is as the plane hits the wall hits the plane. Additionally, there are conditions where if you were to go and with a big hammer attack a wall, just a residential home wall, you have two extremes to go to. One, you would hit the wall exactly in between studs, and you're very likely to make a hole. You hit the wall exactly on a stud, and you're not so likely to make a hole. So you have hard places and not so hard places. In terms of a skyscraper wall, you have the area that is backed up by a floor, where the floor is right behind the exterior wall. And there's places in between floors where if, say, a jet engine just happened to strike in between floors, there's a chance, I say a chance, of that 5-ton jet engine actually penetrating the wall. They're probably having to use up most of its kinetic energy in the process and being lodged in the building someplace instead of continuing on and being found on Murray Street. The entire story that is the official story has such problems with it, and it is something that I've been trying to flesh out how to explain to people, because where my head is at with things as far as being able to see things, there are mechanical systems that just fall into place where for me this is extremely obvious. For a lot of people who just don't think in that way, okay, it's not so obvious, but there are explanations where by precedent we see that aircraft test crashes show the vulnerability of aircrafts to damage from experiencing G-forces, and we know just the fundamental physics about what needs to happen in order to breach a wall. You're looking at trying to move 6 tons of mass at 500 miles per hour. There is a lot of energy involved in that, and the fact is that in terms of breaking the airplane, the energy expended would not only be in what it takes to breach the wall, but any damage to the airplane in terms of, say, the whole airframe almost comes to, it doesn't come to a screeching halt, but if the entire airplane were to so much as lose 30 miles per hour in 15 milliseconds, that is a 90 G jolt. And 90 Gs is significant. It is likely that the jet engines would become unmounted from their locations on the wings and simply leave that thing. And being ripped away, they would tumble as they left. So there would be no chance at all of penetration. So there are scenarios to consider and how things may or may not have panned out. But the idea that there were planes and the planes crashed into the buildings and caused all that damage. Now it's completely mad. Another thing that is a feature of this whole thing that is extremely frustrating to me is that I have attempted to contact community college physics teachers, students, faculty in various places. They physics professor in Berkeley, et cetera, et cetera. The very moment that they get wind of the fact that I'm researching a 9/11 related piece of physics, they clam up completely. They go, no, 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 we don't do conspiracies. Go away. We don't. When in fact, the examination of the physics about this issue doesn't. You can do all of this without so much as thinking the word conspiracy. So, with that, I would throw it open and invite questions and comments from anyone that wants to say something on the subject.
Thank you. We have Henry who's raised his hand. Go ahead, Henry.
Well, thank you for doing all this, Bob. It's I'm sure I understand the frustration as most of the people on this call do in terms of trying to relate to other people about this whole thing issue. My only question is, couldn't it be that there were explosions put off on the outer skin, timed perfectly so that that plane, bits of it, parts of it, engines, could actually have, yeah.
Applying Occam's razor, because it's bad enough to navigate an aircraft such that you could hit exactly, say, at the 92nd floor or some such. That whole business of if explosives were planted such to make it make a hole available for the plane to go in, that's a lot to expect. That is
well, if they were drones, if they were, according to Captain Dan Handley and a bunch of other people who've looked at this, they were more than likely guided missiles. So
well, a missile. Missiles are designed to penetrate targets. That's their job. They're made to penetrate targets.
Right, and there could also have been something potentially projected out from the plane, and I don't know if we see anything of that nature, and I'm sure a lot of people know more about this, but it just occurs to me that that's the only way. And can you just describe what happened to the engines? Because there was an engine reported, I thought, that went through part of the building and wound up at a adjacent
the
street.
famous Murray Street engine, except that really what would have had to happen, and there is, I wish I had the graphic for this that I could show you, but picture the wing of the jetliner as it was, with the jet engine protrudes ahead of the jet engine protrudes ahead of the wing, and so after the nose having penetrated, the next thing that would be in line to touch the wall would be the jet engine. But there's a problem. There's a contest of the strength of materials, because if the wall is stronger than the mount to the jet engine, the bolts that hold the jet engine to the wing, then what would happen would be that the jet engine would break off of the wing and not penetrate. And this is up for grabs as far as you don't say. We're back here. Okay, so am I audible here? That's how things are going.
What's that? Your microphone, you've gone mute.
Yeah,
there you are.
The mic. Okay, okay. Yeah.
We hear you now.
That's good. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, my technological gremlins are messing with my head here, but the contest of the strength of materials would be such that if the wall were stronger than the bolts holding the jet engine to the wing, then obviously the jet engine would break off, and that would be that. The other thing that happens is that a jet engine, if we just hypothesize that the jet engine actually did manage to break into the building, there is the energy consumed in actually breaking into the building. Whatever needs to be done, it's far as breaking a window, shearing off bolts, whatever. The jet engine is actually bigger than the width of one of those windows. So you would have to do some damage to a box column to get the jet engine in the building in the first place. The next thing is the thing would have to skid across the floor, that floor, and have enough energy left over to exit the building and then fly 4 blocks to Murray Street. This is a lot to ask. This is the incredible amount of energy, because in terms of losing energy to friction, as if the jet engine were traveling at initially 500 miles per hour, and then in terms of having to break into the wall and whatever, you may reduce that and say, let's just for the sake of argument, we have 400 miles per hour, and then skidding across the deck for 200 feet. Uh, that's going to cost a lot in energy. It may only be doing maybe 100 miles per hour by the time it gets to the other side, and then it has to break out the other wall. And with that, it would just fall down the side of the building and you're done. The whole Murray Street jet engine thing is an insult to human intelligence. It's been, I'm sorry, people. This is crazy stuff. What the government has and whoever, I say the quote, the government, whoever the perpetrators actually were, the concept is that they're pulling what is known in psychology as the big lie. The big lie is that you tell a lie that is so huge that the general public is going to go, oh, no, 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 that's too big, that's too weird, we just can't get our heads around that. And when in fact it's that way. And um, oh, here we go. Okay. I actually found the button for the chat here, because somebody says the laws of physics are not a conspiracy theory. Oh, heck yes. Okay, that's yeah, certainly. Uh, so um, I see another hand up over here. Who's Matthew?
Matthew, go ahead. Remember, 2 minutes.
Is Matthew
Can you hear
muted?
me?
I can hear. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I had to give permission. This is actually a message from Mark Conlon. I think he messaged you. He was wanting to see if you could join a podcast with him, possibly if you want to film it. So basically, his question was, being as you are an aircraft mechanic by profession,
No,
perhaps you
no,
wouldn't.
I was
Oh,
not
this
an
is a different guy.
aircraft mechanic, but I have studied the subject well, but no, not an aircraft
Okay, okay,
mechanic. Sorry.
okay. So, no, so basically, he's saying perhaps you can address 4 key points of evidence which he has documented. Basically,
Yeah,
the official aircraft communication addressing and reporting system (ACARS)
yeah.
showed that United 175 and United 93 were still airborne after they had allegedly crashed. I'm wondering if you would talk about that. And also, there was no emergency locator transmissions activations for any of the 4 plane crashes
Uh-huh.
on 9/11. Yeah, like, do,
Yeah,
do you know about all about this? And
I have heard the argument about the emergency locator beam. That just is yet another potential, another piece of information that feeds into, yes, the planes were entirely bogus. And the other bit about ACARS data, I kind of get to be a little bit not so interested in that, because the ACARS data amounts to something that you can have bits that show up on somebody's hard disk or something, and these things are uh, all too easy to either be faked or have lots of mistakes in them. And what I try and deal with here is things when you have official news coverage that comes out and shows, oh, here's the Evan Fairbanks video, and this is what we're using to support the planes used as weapons story. However, um, that's a video that you can kind of have something you get your teeth into. The other things, there's whole thing about like phone calls from the planes and this sort of thing. Um, really, it's uh, I tend not to even go there as far as discussing those things, because it's a tangent that does not involve the physical science of the crash.
Yeah, I understand that part, like the crash physics itself. Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. It doesn't follow. Yeah, mainstream physics can't explain that. But I do like the other ones are like I think more adding to it, like that it wasn't real big Boeings. And for example, not just the A cars, but also the official DCC radar data released under the Freedom of Information Act. They also show that the American 77, the Pentagon one, was still airborne and flying over Missouri and Kansas after the alleged crash. And
Hmm.
it keeps going on. Even the NORAD for American Flight 11
Yeah.
communication recordings and had it going flying to Washington D.C.
Right.
after it had allegedly crashed and was identified by tail number and precise lat and longitude coordinates. So basically, there's a whole lot of information that
Hmm.
points to yeah that the actual alleged flights weren't the ones crashed, and the physics also shows it wasn't crashed. So I do agree with you, but I think if you can expand a bit more your
Uh,
basically evidence it would make a stronger case. But yes,
that yeah. Uh, my it's part of in fact what I mentioned earlier about there's this particular sort of keep it simple sort of philosophy that I embrace because if we can say that the towers in seven came down because of a controlled demolition, the arguments about was it atomic bombs or thermite or C4 or what was used for it just become peripheral noise until we get down to somebody is really investigating this thing because uh, we could debate the details that are kind of peripheral details for a long time and nothing would get done. But I'm thinking to nail down the things that we know, and these are things that uh, I guess you need to focus on because that's where we know that we have some traction to get with those things.
no, I agree. And one last part, which is in agreement with your take. Like, have you looked at the Pentagon where it allegedly went through 5 light poles, like the at
Yeah,
ground level?
yeah. In fact, let I'm since I've got the ability here. Let's see if this just actually does. So I'm gonna um, well, okay. Apparently, my share screen is not behaving itself right now, but there's a picture of an airport accident where there was a light pole similar to what was near the Pentagon, and a airliner wing has hit the pole and it cuts a notch. And this was like at low speeds, just taxiing around the plane, the airport, and the pole cut a notch in the wing. And one of the features of the whole Pentagon thing about the having sheared off 5 light poles, the light fixture at the very top of the pole is bigger than the diameter of the pole itself. And given that when you hit a pole like that, it's going to notch the wing, the notch only accounts for the diameter of the pole itself. If that pole just drops down and catches the light fixture at the top of the pole, that means that the plane would be dragging along that pole, which would either on the port or starboard side of the plane add weight and possibly even at the low altitude this thing was flying, drag the ground with that pole and thus cause the plane to just crash and burn and not even reach the Pentagon. So the light poles scene has a lot wrong with it.
I
And
think you're frozen. Oh, you were frozen earlier. Okay.
um, I don't appear to be frozen right now.
Yeah,
I
you're
do
fine now.
hope I'm.
Now you're fine.
Oh,
Now you're
okay.
fine.
I
Yeah,
heard everything you were
my freaking
saying.
hardware is just giving me no end of grief at this point, and it's kind of well, thanks a lot, people. Um, so in fact, actually, what have we got here?
Bob, we
Um,
heard everything you were saying. I think it was Emma
yeah,
who said.
good.
Yeah, might
Um,
have been my Wi-Fi. Yeah.
okay, well, the funny thing about this whole technology bit, it's like um, for uh, the sort of career mechanic as I was, the idea of doing these meetings is as much as black magic and witchcraft, but hey, it works. It's as such as it works. So, and uh, thank you for being here, by the way, Richard. This is it's cool. I appreciate.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So and let's see. Uh, 15. Yeah, we haven't expended the hour that was allocated for this, but if anybody has any other questions or discussion or anything on the subject, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I have a question. Your
Yeah.
presentation seems to rest on the lack of wreckage falling at the point of impact outside of the building. Is that,
Well,
I got that correctly?
yeah. Well, not exclusively that. That's a feature of the whole thing. But also a very major feature of the whole thing is the fact that ramming a plane into a wall, and in lots of people's hypotheses that I've heard over the years on the net would say, oh yeah, it just penetrated because there's this 200, there is like 150 pounds, 150 tons of aircraft, and there's 6 tons of mass in the wall. And of course it'll just push right in and it's no problem, but it misses out the idea of having to move mass at 500 miles per hour, because there's a difference. And just by way of discussing what I see about the whole thing, if you put like a 55-gallon drum trash can on skateboard wheels and let it roll, and you run up to it with your car, say at 5 miles per hour, and you just push it, you're pushing it, it's no big deal. Try that same stunt at 60 miles an hour, and I guarantee you it will damage something. It will be a terrific jolt just overcoming the inertia of that drum. Uh, and this is what goes on, say, if the 500 mile per hour collision, this is going to be a tremendous jolt to the airplane. And uh, there is precedent in terms of a aircraft crash test where they recorded 40 G's of stress to the plane when that aircraft came down, and it broke the wings off the plane. So with something that is a crash that is guaranteed to be much greater than 40 G's, um, the idea of keeping the wings on the plane, and for that matter, maintaining attitude and the rest of that, uh, it's just ludicrous. The image as shown is a fake image, and there are people that want to bring in, was it a hologram or was it fake video or whatever? That's another peripheral issue that doesn't need to be nailed down right now. What was shown the public as what was, we're selling you the idea of planes having been used, is to show this video, and this video is obviously wrong. We have a problem here.
But it's not just the video. People, eyewitnesses.
Yeah, and eyewitnesses are terribly, terribly problematic, because people can think they saw something, or can, for that matter, oh, there's television crews around, I'll tell the television crews I saw the airliner, when in fact, what did they see? I don't know. Psychologically, what has been determined is that eyewitnesses are the least viable piece of evidence in any case that there might be. And I'm sorry, it's that way. There's I haven't seen anything that, as far as eyewitness reports. In fact, when there was a reporter roaming the streets right after the alleged second impact, and there he was going around sticking a microphone in people's faces, and lo and behold, there was an individual who said, quote, no second plane, it was a bomb. They said those very words. And that's an eyewitness report. Should that have as much weight as anything? I don't know. What does carry a great deal of weight is the fact that the images that were used to sell the idea of planes used as weapons turns out to be completely impossible as far as a physical examination of what should have happened and what didn't happen, because it it doesn't work out like that. And there's even, talk about, was it a military plane, especially modified plane, that would crash into the building? What you would have to do is basically rebuild an airliner-sized frame with all the attributes of being a missile, and that's applying Occam's razor. That's not where I think that's going. But I could be corrected on that. Who knows? There's a lot of variables here. but it's just
So
that's
bottom
where the
line, you have your theory is what didn't happen. You don't have a theory as to what
yeah.
did happen.
And there's a feature about things. People can go to a Las Vegas show and watch a guy go poof, an elephant disappears. Wonderful. Smoke and mirror job. They don't have to know how it was done. They know it was an illusion. And this is where the logic applies in that with the events of 9/11, we know there's an illusion involved. We don't have to say it was done exactly like this in order to be correct about, yes, there was an illusion done.
Okay, Chris Berger has his hand raised, so go ahead,
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me and see me okay?
I can hear you. Just,
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob, for researching this. I have a degree in aerospace engineering, and I came to this
Oh,
conclusion back in 2013 that
ah,
you're not witnessing a real plane hit a real building. I mean, you can also look at it as an energy transfer because, I mean, the energy required to break up these big steel columns in the floor slab takes much more than it is to just rip apart aluminum that's only a tenth of
mm-hmm,
an inch thick. You take
mm-hmm,
some shears and try to shear sheet metal. You can do it with sheet metal, but try to cut like a 3/8 or a half-inch plate with those shears, and you're not going to be able to do it. So, and
mm-hmm.
there's no way they got the tail into the building. Are you so I am very interested in the explanations, and I'll do a screen share here. Can I do a screen share?
You have
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
minute. Remember,
Oh,
we have
okay.
to limit the time.
Right. So with
Yeah,
this screen share, um,
ah,
this is from Richard D. Hall that did very extensive work on 9/11 3D radar analysis, and I'm just gonna zoom
ah,
in. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in that one of the photos from New Jersey took the plane. Okay, if you can see it right there. So there's the plane.
mm-hmm,
You see my
mm-hmm,
screenshot? And
yeah,
then all of a sudden, this little tiny ball appears right next to the plane, which is right here. Okay,
uh-huh,
so I was taking screenshots. So I'm pretty convinced that you're actually looking at some type of a UFO projecting a hologram. And not only that, there were eyewitnesses of someone seeing a UFO just flying around Lower Manhattan. Matthew Estefo shared that with me. If you're interested, please reach out to me. I'd like to share some more of this. And that this
ah,
is what Richard Hall picked this one up on his radar analysis. That this is the real object, a real solid object moving in this path. And it seemed like this was a hologram in the other path. I just wondered if you're not familiar with that research, you might want to take
yeah.
a look.
I,
Are you?
I've I have heard of the work of Richard P. Hall. It's uh, it's analysis that kind of strays from the physical science end of things. In fact, actually, something that I'd be curious about, since you have been trained in aerospace engineering, uh,
Right.
there uh, is if an aircraft has an attitude such that the roll is 38 degrees, there is a an offset of the lift vector that is part of, the plane shifted this way. A little hard to explain right now. What I'm getting at is there some means by way of mathematics or possibly a computer program to calculate the actual forces, the asymmetrical forces that would apply to the plane when you have a specified attitude, such like the yaw being 13 degrees and pitch being 6 degrees, that sort of thing.
Well, I believe through advanced finite element analysis, you could really calculate the forces that just start to crumble the plane up, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you're seeing no deceleration. And by the way, the plane was moving 580 miles per hour, and I
Yeah.
believe 380 is the maximum that it can go at sea level. So
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah.
absolutely no way a plane could go. So you're spot on that we are not witnessing a real plane crash into a real building. And
Yeah.
this needs to be recognized by the truth movement. And I hope more and more people like you can come forward and expose this, because this is the real truth we're
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah, if anybody wants to correspond by email, would you please put your email in the chat, and then I will get that for you, okay?
Okay, we have another question from Jean and Sandra. Go ahead.
Okay. Since I got 2 minutes, I'm going to share a whole bunch of screens and then we'll have conversation afterwards. Sorry.
Good, good.
First, Richard Rotan's deputy or commissioner at the EOC on 9/11 says, and I read this earlier when you cut out, but it basically says he was in 7. They crossed the street, the World Trade Center complex. We climbed over numerous dead bodies and body parts, as well as pieces of aircraft fuselage and fallen building debris. So he's a very reputable guy. That's one thing. Hang on, let me keep flipping here. This guy, they're watching. Oh, I didn't share my sound. Crap. Hang on a second. Sorry, Sue, I'm hurrying. Share
All
sound.
right, you got a minute 40.
Okay, here we go. So he's talking about how I witnessed one coming over his head and seeing it, and I got no audio, and it's not playing through my speakers. But anyways, as he's watching it, they look up at 2. He's focusing up on 2, and you'll see a little flicker right there to the right of the buildings. It's coming in. They see it, and then it explodes. It's actually talking to an eyewitness, hit 1, and then 2 gets hit just as they're talking. That's one thing. I don't know if you knew, the glass in between the columns of World Trade Center 1 and 2 were 2 feet apart, roughly, as opposed to 14 inches, roughly 14 inches for the beams. There's a couple other pictures of that. This is a picture from the E team inside, so you can see that the glass takes up more space than what the column would, because you got to wrap this with
Your
drywall and
screen
stuff.
your screen does not appear to be taking here as far as
What happened there?
Or don't see your share screen.
There we go. Okay. So this is the E team looking out, World Trade Center office buildings. You can see that the glass in this picture, it looks like it's the same size. But you got to remember they're wrapped in drywall. So it's just showing what I was sharing before, that the I don't know if you saw that first one where there was more glass than steel. Let me try this again. Did you guys see this one? 2 foot of glass per every roughly 14, 15 inches of columns. So in that facade, there's more glass than steel.
The glass is approximately 65% by area of the wall area.
Yeah. And I'm trying to, I think, what else did I have? It's so many things. Oh, one last one. This is a picture of 2 getting hit from left to right. And you can see by lining up the columns of the exterior, you can see that the building actually sways on impact. Make this a little bigger. And then when you go to they focus on another segment, and when it gets hit, the building actually not only swayed, but it twisted. And you'll see it gets hit, and the building starts to spring. That's a bad example. Here we go. Whoop, it speeds up. You can see that it kind of, so it swayed and it twisted. You have to watch it like 30 times to actually kind of start to see it. But
the building itself being something like 500,000 tons of steel, concrete, and building materials of one thing and another. The concept that a plane, even if the plane were 200 tons or something, smashing into the building and causing the building to move at all, the plane would have had to immediately 100% dump all of its inertia in a matter of milliseconds in order to deliver the energy to the building so that the building could sway. If the building did indeed, and there's some indication on video that you could say, look at this, the building is swaying. I can only hypothesize that in the process of weakening the structure preparations to having the thing come down, there were explosives that went off, and these explosives caused the effect that is observed. Because an airplane, if the airplane were to deliver enough energy to cause the building to move, there would have to be 100% of its kinetic energy delivered very quickly. That the entire crash might last 10 milliseconds or something, and it would just go boom, like an explosive going off. And that may move the building, but it's not what was observed and it's not what was as reported.
All right. And one last 3 more seconds. There is an aerospace engineer, Boeing. I didn't mean aerospace space. Chris Bergier, respect what you said. I know you're an aerospace engineering or have a degree in it. This John Bursill, he's a Boeing engineer. He actually says that it could, on a shallow dive, reach those speeds, but it would experience damage as it's doing it. So
Yeah, the
I
thing
can
that bothers me about the whole extreme speed argument is if indeed there were religious fanatics that these Muslims were so concerned about not disappointing Allah and actually making the mission work, then what goes on is having the plane being flown in a manner that is way outside the standard operating envelope, and so being a danger to the plane such that it might go, oh well, uh, they could they could end up breaking the plane and then by that failing the mission. So is it even plausible that religious fanatics would go to such lengths, uh, being potentially endangering the mission by flying the plane that fast?
Not if it was a military drone.
Well, yeah, that would be the entire other, that puts it into an entirely different realm where it isn't um, it isn't a commercial airliner at all. And then, we're back to square one on this as far as, yes, it was an illusion and the illusion was pretty good, but it's not, not good enough actually.
And what
So
if they were remote
Magnus,
controlled?
thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
I mean, because you answered Gene's question by saying, Islamic fanatics flying the planes, but what if they were remote controlled instead?
Well, given the structure of a commercial airliner, the idea of uh, flying a plane into a building and getting that result is still pretty far-fetched.
They can be pretty precise with that stuff.
Well, John Skilling and Leslie Robertson designed the building to take an aircraft strike. So they said it would cause damage along 2 to 3 sides, and the building would still stand. They would dump massive amounts of fuel. There'd be a loss of life, but the building would still stand. So they anticipated that yes, it would puncture through the building and cause some localized damage.
Um, Hypothesis on the part of an architect. Uh, you know, no disrespect intended for these men, but the concept of having again having a plane crash into a wall in that configuration, the immediately upon nose to wall contact, the plane would experience a shock that would be uh, it would break the plane. It would just plain, this thing's going to break. And as a broken structure, it's not going to penetrate.
Glass. 50,
More of a
60% you just said is glass.
It's more of a
okay,
fence.
we
No,
need
65%. No, the glass is 65% of the area.
Well,
Yeah,
that further makes
exactly.
my point.
Exactly.
Okay.
we
Thank
need
you.
to
Well,
move, we
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
move along.
Yeah.
Magnus had his hand raised, but he's lowered it. Do you still have a question, Magnus? Magnus, are you there?
Hmm.
I guess not.
Oh, wow.
It's late for him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
2 a.m.
He had his hand raised, but he lowered it, and he's still on mute. So
Huh.
I guess we'll take a second round of questions, but that's it because
Yeah.
we're running overtime.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So go ahead,
Yeah.
Matthew.
Yeah, thanks. I wanna just quickly share my screen if you guys are okay. Okay, Telegram browser, and I'll share sound. All right. 1 second.
Good to go.
We don't hear the sound.
No, that didn't make much sense. We see it, Map. We don't hear you.
I'll check. I'll see if I can external. Oh yeah, one second.
We're hearing you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was a point. Gene was saying that there was a sway on impact. We had this discussion before with David Chandler or Richard Chandler, for his name. I think with David Chandler and Boston Animal Truth. If you look at slow motion, the sway is after the explosion, not during impact. There's no debate about it. So I don't know why Gene and David were kept bringing it up. So you can see it right here. Here's the Scott Myers footage. It goes in.
Yeah.
There's no swaying at all until
Well, yeah,
after.
it's not going to be immediate.
No,
It's only
this-
after the explosion. It's only after explosion. You can see it right here.
Well,
The one that Gino always shows is just that it's seven times speed, which misses frames. And so
just want to make a point because a lot of people have a misconception about the
this
swaying.
was actually a discussion between me and David Chandler, so we could play a minute.
The swaying in the Scott Myers footage, it's after the explosion. It's not before. If you the video that he was talking about where it's sped up, that cuts out frames, so it's actually misleading. To actually see it properly, you need to see the original footage, go frame by frame, and then you'll see that the swaying is well after the explosion, not before. So it actually glides in like a hologram. Like that's that's the best way I can explain. I just wanted to bring that up, and
Yeah, and then here's a comparison
Can I
with.
speak here?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Okay,
That's
a
funny.
couple of
That's-
points. One on the swaying, since we just left
Yeah,
it.
so there's the one that you guys were showing, and then lastly, you were talking
David
about.
is on the call.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's David. And so lastly, you were talking about a random Boeing person saying that it was possible, not possible. This is actually affidavit. Jeff Hill swore an affidavit, and he has it recorded calling with Boeing engineers and Boeing spokespersons, and they said not a chance that the plane could go that fast. You could play it as well, or I could send a
We
link.
got conflicting
This is in
Boeing
an affidavit.
engineers.
This is in an affidavit for Morgan Reynolds' court case. So it's not just some random person sending an email. It's an actual court case with Boeing engineers on recording saying that it's impossible. And she said it was too. She was amused at such a ridiculous question at a Boeing 767-200 going that fast, and not a chance. This Boeing spokesperson Leslie Hazard, and you could hear the person there, and also Boeing engineer Lori Beckel, and you could see the audio and so on, and then the affidavit and so on there. And we'll see if they could play some of this.
Nice.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
you're running overtime
Yeah.
now.
All right, no worries,
Why
no
don't
worries.
we let Bob respond?
Okay, yeah, Bob or Gene, go on.
Yeah,
How do I stop
just
there?
I'm just in agreement with the Boeing engineers who said you can't fly that fast at near sea level. So it's kind of yes. Thank you for the input. I guess chalk this one up to the big lie and
But
say
wait, Bob, they were talking about a civilian aircraft, not a military aircraft, right?
well, yeah. The whole idea, and this is something that is when we talk about the creation of DHS and the whole nine yards, when the politicians got a hold of this and said, oh yes, we were attacked by radical Muslims and we have to protect the nation for this. There is all sorts of things that were implemented with the allegation that hijacked airliners were used as weapons. If you take away the hijacked airliners used as weapons, the entire foundation of the Patriot Act goes away. And this is people talk about radical. I don't really expect for there to be proper action taken on this within my lifetime, but I'm hopeful that for your children's, your grandchildren's generation, that they will not live under the burden of a lie having been accepted as truth, which really screws with civilization in general, because you can say that one lie, it's just one lie, but it's a lie that affects everything else. There are peripheral effects. It's like a piece of psychological warfare that's being done, and it's bad for civilization in general. But that's like my 2 cents worth. So there you go.
Thank you. Next we have Chris Berger again.
Yeah, you guys can hear me. Yeah. I just want to comment. Even if it was a military, like a fuel tanker plane, just for that plane to be in that configuration, that plane configuration is like a slow a cruise ship. Okay, it's not designed. It doesn't have swept wings. It's not like a fighter that has a very low profile where it can reach those speeds. And then another point that I'd want to make is that anyone thinks that a plane could just easily hit a target like that. There's Horizon Hobby makes a a model airplane simulator, and it's really fun. You can pick a bunch of model airplanes where they vary the speed, and then they have courses where you're going like, 30, 40 miles an hour, and you're trying to go through like a big hoop or something. But when I take the fastest airplane going 200 miles an hour, there's no way you're putting that airplane through that hoop, because just the smallest little tiny push on my little joystick pushes it out of the way like 50 feet when it's approaching that hoop. So you just don't get that type of a target precision. So that's just another thing that you have to be aware of. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't know if you care to comment there.
I, I agree. In There's been controversy in various people using various different flight simulators who some of them allege to, oh, I used a flight simulator and it was a piece of cake to hit the towers. But that then gets off into the tangent and noise level end of things where sticking to the root information that we're dealing with here is probably the best thing for focusing on something that will bear fruit over time, is to say that yes, the planes are impossible because, and cite the laws of physics.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I just want to express my appreciation for your joining us tonight.
Well,
And
thank you very much for.
yeah. Oh, you're entirely welcome. I'm looking forward to sharing this and furthering the discussion. And just one more thing. Can you explain your background?
Oh, well, varied. Um, in the Navy, I repaired World War II vintage radar and radio gear. However, in civilian life, I did everything from production test to actually being the guy who designs and builds the fixtures for production test. And uh, later on from that actual prototype fabrication, when the engineers would dream up a new DC power supply or something, they go, here, hand me a page of scribbled notes and say, here, go build this. And I fabricated things. But when computer aided design actually hit big time and things were sort of being built in silico for testing, the bottom line got to be that my job became obsolete. So I had to go into the sort of care and feeding of the hardware, the servicing of things. And I did that for good 15 years before I retired.
All right, great.
So I just wanted to mention, in case Bob doesn't know, at the Washington event, 3 days of presentations, September 10th, 11th, and 12th, there will be a segment specifically on the flight paths and the flight simulator studies that were just recently done. So
Good.
you might want to check that out.
Yeah, will that be available over the web? Because there's no way that I can travel for this.
No, it's going to be streamed live.
Okay.
Via Redacted, Clayton
Yeah.
Morris Redacted, and the stream itself is free. We are trying to fundraise for it because it's going to cost us $10,000, but
Yeah.
you can watch it. Well, yeah.
Great. Okay.
Just to let you know.
Cool. And actually, if people want to necessarily look me up and ping me, there is a Substack that is called bobthefreeradical.substack.com, and that's kind of where I'm at. So
you should go with Bob the Builder, because that's Bob the, and then I kept thinking builder, and then you said you actually build things. It's like, well, you should be Bob the Builder.
Yeah. The free radical part actually comes from a joke that I did like many, many, many years ago, because people are talking about their college experiences and whatever, and I piped up to my coworkers, yeah, I went to college, but I was thrown out of chemistry for being a free radical. And
oh, good one. All right. Thank you
thanks
again.
Well, can you put your website in the chat there?
Yes, I'll do that. Just a sec
Yeah,
here.
you can write that down.
That'd be great. All right, we're gonna move on to the agenda portion of our meeting here tonight. And gonna stop recording, but you're all welcome to hang on for the Boston 9/11 Truth Agenda. And again, thank you very much. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, participants. I think it went well.